Yesterday, the South African Nuclear Energy Corporation, that's Necsa, and the Black Business Council, the BBC, announced the creation of a business nuclear energy desk. The desk will offer a platform for black business to interact with Necsa and other relevant entities on opportunities in the nuclear new build program. To tell us more about this, we are joined in studio by the CEO of the Black Business Council, Mohale Ralebitso. So nice to see you. Welcome to the program.
Thank you for having us on.
It's an absolute pleasure. So we see that there's a partnership happening between the BBC and Necsa. Tell me a little bit more about it.
Well, as Necsa explores the viability of the nuclear build program, we want to ensure that we're part of that discussion so that come the point at which a decision is made that black business is able to participate in the delivery of that program, and that we build the necessary skills now so that come the time we're not scrounging around and complaining about being left out of the process. So we want to ensure that, one, we understand fully where that fits into the country's energy mix, that black business can feature in the supply chain, and ensure that over time we're able to localize more of those inputs than might be the case if the build were to start today, for example.
So the idea is nuclear is looking like it's the future here in South Africa, and you don't want black business to miss out on this.
Absolutely. And we have some major challenges with energy supply, as we know, and that's been a major drag on the economy. And somewhere that we have to review the current energy mix and determine whether nuclear can continue to be a part. We already have nuclear power feeding into the grid baseload by way of Koeberg. We have the Safari 1 medical reactor, which is doing a number of wonderful things in that space and saving lives. So we have to ensure that we understand where nuclear is going to fit into the mix and be part of the conversation about where to next.
Yeah. Let's talk about the desk that's being set up, this business nuclear energy desk. How's it going to work and facilitate these different partnerships that can arise?
Well, there's a number of discussions that have to be had around, one, how is this going to be financed? Can some of our players participate in the financing of the program? And in that, we're also going to get to the specifics of what's the extent of nuclear in the mix. How are we going to ensure that through nuclear and other means we reduce our carbon emissions? Because we have some very serious commitments to attend to as a country about reducing carbon emissions. Nuclear can play a part in that. Equally, other green energies can be fed into the mix. So we're going to be having all of those conversations about what does the mix look like, what are the opportunities to localize, what are the opportunities for black business, what skills do we need, how do we fund those skills, and everything else that we're going to need to be part of that delivery exercise. Remind
us what the nuclear new build program actually is.
Well, there's some interesting things that commit us to having nuclear somewhere in the region of about 23% of the energy complement that we have in South Africa by 2030. But again, all of these things are mapped out scenarios. We have to go, or rather, we have to allow Necsa to go into market to understand what would it actually cost to build. For example, Necsa have quoted an interesting stat that says that whereas we have a figure of $1 trillion that's being thrown around, the truth is closer to somewhere to 400 billion. So we have to understand all of those issues. And also we have to say, well, if that plant is built, the cost at a point in time versus cost over the useful lifespan of those assets, and what that means in terms of our ability to diversify our energy mix.
From your understanding, what are some of these mega projects that are in the pipeline? And I can imagine this would have a direct influence on job creation, employment, and the economy at large.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, all of us are talking about the need to reindustrialize South Africa, and we all understand the importance of energy to that. And one of our primary sectors, being mining, has been uncompetitive for a period of time because of high energy costs. All of us are feeling the pinch in terms of, as business people, whether it's an input into our manufacturing processes, whether it's in our homes, we're clear that the cost of energy is rising. In fact, you were just talking about a petrol price increase. So energy across the spectrum has to be understood in terms of how do we reduce the cost, how do we make our economy more competitive, as we once were because we had the benefit of cheap power. We no longer have that luxury. So we have to ensure that as we reindustrialize, part of that reindustrialization has to be that we do so competitively so that we're able to create and sustain jobs.
Do you not think at one point that there's going to be a risk of being accused of monopolizing this industry that should be open to all, and opportunities should be there for everybody to apply, and not necessarily just black business and Necsa?
No, we're not trying to, our engagement with Necsa is not about closing anybody off. It's about understanding and being party to mapping the scenarios. There are private companies with which we are already engaging, which are articulating to us how they see their involvement. And we want to be, part and parcel of whatever happens, and remember that even if we say black business is in discussion with Necsa, it doesn't mean that come the point at which the decision is made to say, here's what the build plan looks like, that quote-unquote black business is going to be able to access those opportunities ahead of all other business. There will be a proper process, the specifics of which will not come from ourselves, but Necsa and the relevant authorities will attend to that. We just want to make sure that we have an early enough understanding of what's going to happen so we can position our players. And critically, ensure that through that exercise, we're able to build a more competitive economy that creates more jobs. And by default, through that process, it'll attend to some of the issues that we have as a Black Business Council.
All right, let's leave it there for this morning. Thanks so much for coming in and chatting to us this morning. Mohale Ralebitso is the CEO of the Black Business Council, talking about this partnership that's between the South African Nuclear Energy Corporation and the Black Business Council, announcing this creation of a business nuclear energy desk. How do we get hold of you or find out details about this desk?
You can go to www.bbc. Actually, I was about to send you to the wrong website.
Yeah.
blackbusinesscouncil.org.
.org. Okay,
yes,
BBC.
blackbusinesscouncil.org. The full Black Business Council.
Okay, you see what happens when you become too familiar with television. You take that mic off and you're ready to run away.
No, I was about to start singing.
I love it. Nice one, Mohale. I love it. Thank you so much. Let's take a very quick